Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with this Swedish series of reviews that I've been doing for you across the month of December here, and we've got another new brewery for you today. So for this one we are going to stick to Skåne, and we're going to go to a town called Eslöv, maybe about half an hour or so to the north of me here in Lund. Meant to be quite a pretty little place, but we're going to actually visit their local brewery. So we're going to go to Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri, and we're having a taste of their winter beer that they've just released. They've only released this one as a limited edition for Christmas 2015. So it's called the Red Slope, and it's a limited release Imperial Red Ale. Now if you've watched my channel before, you will know how much I love red beers, and especially the Imperial Reds. I had some beautiful examples of those when I was down in New Zealand, so I'm really excited to try this beer. So a very good place to kick off my Remmarlöv review. So hopefully I can return to this brewery in the fairly near future and review some more beers for them. So as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual website links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers actually, but I'm sure it won't be the last. And there's all the usual social media things down there as well. The Facebook, the Twitter and the Untappd profile for the channel. So feel free to get in touch with me through whatever means you like. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and I do apologise in advance if any of the Swedish pronunciations aren't quite right in this video. I'm still learning Swedish, but please do let me know some other Swedish breweries that you'd like me to have a look at. Always interesting to try new beers. And I have to give a shout out to Hampus at Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri for actually giving me all the information on these breweries. I sent him an email to ask him about it, and he gave me a very nice response. So thank you to Hampus for actually helping me along with this video. So anyway, to tell you about Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. So the brewery is based on a farm in Eslöv, which, as I told you, is about half an hour or so to the north of me here in Lund in Skåne in southern Sweden. So they've been brewing on the farm since about the winter or autumn of 2014, and in January 2015 they started selling their beers in Sweden through Systembolaget. And if you don't know, that's the kind of nationalised alcohol stores that we have here in Sweden. You can't buy anything over 3.5% in the supermarkets. You can get Carlsberg and all of these sorts of things in your supermarket, but if you want all the good stuff, you really have to go to Systembolaget. So the owner and founder of the company is Håkan Nilsson, and together with his wife Michelle, they actually started the plan for a brewery a couple of years back, and the brewery is located on their family farm, and Håkan is actually the 5th generation of family to look after the farm. And it reminds me a little bit of the Gårdsbryggeri from a way up north. I think that was Dalarna actually they're from in Sweden, a bit to the north of Stockholm, and these guys remind me a little bit of that, so maybe a kind of second Gårds we're going to get here. But the old barn on the farm was actually renovated, and a brew house of 1500 litres was installed, and the brewer is Hampus Olofsson, who was actually hired in August 2014, having previously worked for Malmö Brewing Company. And if he's worked for them, I'm pretty sure his beers are going to be pretty damn good, because I've tried a few of their beers, never managed to review any of them on the channel unfortunately. Hopefully I can do that in the future, but the beers from Malmö Brewing Company are pretty damn good, I have to say. But Hampus says the brewing philosophy of the company is that they like to brew clean beers true to the style and focus on the balance of the flavours, and the drinkability is also key for them. They like to brew in the American style simply because that's what they like to drink themselves, and they like the kind of quite prominent flavours that you get from these styles of beers. So that's your kind of brief history of Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. Again, apologies if the pronunciation isn't quite right, but they've got a small range of beers. They've only just started up, a very new brewery. So just to list these for you, you've got the Crimson Red Ale, Farmer's Organic Saison, Fenton Session IPA, Holly Blonde Ale and the Genius IPA, and this one here, the Red Slope, is a limited edition beer that they've released in Christmas of 2015. So that's everything about the brewery. So let's actually get on to the tasting section of this video. So this one is an 8.5% Imperial Red Ale. It's hopped with Amarillo, Summit and Cascade hops. Very nice combination. We should get some really nice kind of orangey or grapefruity flavours out of this one, so very much looking forward to this beer. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little quick look at this before we open it up. It's actually quite nicely presented, quite a kind of traditional looking beer actually. It reminds me of a lot of some of the old English labels. I'll just put the light down a little bit so you can actually see it properly. You can see on the front there, it tells you the hops. It says Summit, Columbus and Amarillo. Summit's not such a common hop to find in beers, but actually it is really nice. The beers I've had it in come across as being very nice, but you can see at the top there, Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri, tells you a bit on the side, the Red Slope Imperial, Red Ale for Phantom 4, yes, it basically just tells you that it's crafted to have a nice balance of flavour with a strong aroma. And yeah, basically says thank you for trying the beer. It's a special one for the winter season. But yeah, sorry, I'm not too good at translating the Swedish yet, so we'll see. And it says on the side here, made in Skåne. So this is the region in the very south of Sweden, right on the bottom tip. And you can see there, I think that's a chicken. It's actually meant to be, I'm not sure, maybe a cockerel, but you can see that on the bottle cap there as well. And it should be served between 8 and 11 degrees, and it should be about that now because I've had it out of the fridge for about half an hour or so. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. Very much looking forward to this one. So, as you can see, a nice smoky opening there as we open this one up. You can smell the kind of nice sort of, there's actually a good bit of a red candied fruit coming out of this beer as I open it up and pour it out. Yeah, in the pour, this kind of, it's almost like a kind of red jam aroma that's coming out of this one. Yeah, this beer looks really, really nice. Yeah, so as you can see, it's poured a really almost wine red colour actually. I'm not sure how well you can see that. If I put the light through it, and as I say, I'm not sure how well you can see it in the video, it is completely see-through. There's a lot of transparency. Maybe you can see it there. If I put my hand behind it, you can see the light reflects off my hand, and that shows you the actual colour of this beer. A really nice, kind of slightly coppery red, but at the same time, a kind of almost strawberry or cherry red. It's actually very, very attractive looking beer. As you can see, there's a solid 2 fingers of a frothy beige head on there. Beautiful looking beer, and there is a lot of transparency to this one. It is completely see-through. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but there's quite a few sort of medium-sized bubbles. The carbonation looks quite big on this actually, but you can see those just running up towards the bottom of that head there. It looks absolutely beautiful, I have to admit. Very, very attractive looking beer. So I'm really excited to try this one. So we'll get on with the aroma for this then. Really nice hoppy characters coming off of this beer. There's a good bit of orangey citrus coming out of this, I want to say. And that's from the Amarillo, and you will get some of it from the Summit hop as well. Amarillo always gives you this really nice, juicy, orangey citrus character from the beer. It smells absolutely beautiful. So there's some tropical grapefruit in there too, but that's more subtle. I think the orangey citrus that's coming out of this beer is a lot more prominent. But you'll get a bit of grapefruit from the Cascade and also a little bit from the Summit. Cascade, of course, very famous for that grapefruit aroma. And all 3 of these hops give you a little bit of a floral character. And you can pick up that a little bit, but it's not too pronounced. The main part of the hoppy aroma, I think, is these juicy orangey characters that's coming out. And underneath that, you can pick up a little bit, no, not a little bit, there's a lot of a kind of big caramel sweetness in there. You can pick up some bready character. There's maybe just a little bit, I just got a little bit of an almost earthy and slightly woody aroma as I sugared it up there. Yeah, just a little hint of a kind of earthy, slightly herbal character, and you will get a little bit of that from the Summit hop. That's coming out as you sugar the beer up a little bit, but there's a lot of sweet caramel under there, some bready character as well. But you can also pick up just a little bit of a red ester from this one, a sort of red fruity ester. A bit like a kind of almost slightly figgy, but more of a kind of candied fruit. These candied fruit esters that I always talk about, I always say it, but they remind me of the little heart sweets that you get from Haribo. It always reminds me of that, so you can pick up just a little bit of a sort of red fruity ester from this beer as well. But as I say, the most prominent components of the aroma for me are probably the nice orangey, citrusy characters that are coming out. There is a little bit of grapefruit there, but I think the orange is more prominent, and some big caramel notes. You can get a little bit of breadiness, a little bit of earthy herbal character as well from the Summit hop. But yeah, and there's as you get more used to the aroma, you can pick out a little bit more of these candied red fruit esters. So as I always say, especially when it comes to big Imperial beers like this, have a smell of them before you taste them, because it can always give you a good idea of exactly what the beer is going to taste like. But without further ado, we're going to get stuck into this guy. So this is the Red Slope from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri in Eslöv in Skåne in southern Sweden. Very excited for this one, so we'll dig in now. Skål! Yeah, that is pretty damn good. I have to say that, absolutely beautiful. So I just need to let my palate adjust to it a little bit so I can actually pick out all the flavours in this, but this is a damn good beer. Yeah, this is really, really quite nice actually. It's kind of overwhelming when it comes in, there's so much going on in there, you really just need to let your palate adjust to it. In comparison with the aroma, I think the grapefruit in here is quite a bit more prominent. You're getting a little bit more of the sort of more slightly sour flavour that you get from grapefruit in comparison to the orange. The aroma is a very, very orangey citrus for me, but the taste is really quite different. Yeah, but that said, as your palate adjusts, you start to get more of the orange citrus coming out there as well. So the middle of your palate is blanketed with a kind of quite nice, but at the same time quite light bready character. There is a little bit of a slightly cereal flavour in there, but again, that's very light. It's not kind of spicy or anything like that sometimes you can get from the more English style red beers. It's very, very smooth, but at the same time, it does have a bit of a flavour of kind of brown bread rather than white bread. It's very nice, and it just blankets the middle of the tongue. On top of that, there's a good bit of caramel sweetness there, and you can pick up a little bit of the alcohol warmth in it, but that's to be expected when the beer's 8.5% and it is an Imperial red beer as well, so you have to expect that a bit, but it works really quite well, I think. Maybe a little bit of a biscuity character in the middle of the palate there as well, but it's really nice. The caramel flavours are actually a little bit darker, I want to say, and they come out a bit more in the aftertaste. They're quite subtle in the beginning, but then they start to push their way out a bit more in the aftertaste, and it becomes a little bit drier in the middle of the palate too, but there's a lot of hoppy flavour around the edge of this beer. Around the edge of my palate, I should say. At the back corners, you're getting a nice earthy hop coming out there. You can pick that out in the very back corners of the palate, and as you move further forward, it actually becomes a little bit more herbal, and I can see that's the Summit hop coming out there. The Summit hop has this nice herbal character and a little bit earthy as well, and that's coming out as you move a little bit further forward. As you get round to the front parts of the tongue, that's when it starts to get a bit more of a kind of floral and aromatic flavour, and of course that's from the Amarillo and from the Cascade hop. That's a really nice component of the flavour. I'm starting to pick up just a little bit of the red fruits in this one too, but they're quite subtle. If you go just behind the very front curve of your tongue, there's a nice oily bubble coming out there, and that's where you're getting a lot of these nice fruity ester flavours. So you can pick up an orange flavour in there, but it maybe comes across as a little bit more of a strong citrus in that. It's not quite as juicy as the aroma would have you believe. It's more of a slightly darker citrus that I'm getting out of this, and that blends together quite well with the more sour flavours of the grapefruit. So if you just pay attention to that oily bubble behind the front of the tongue, there's a kind of quite strong citrus component there, and you can get the more sour flavours of the grapefruit just on top of that. But as the beer progresses, I think the citrus starts to come out a bit more, but when you first taste it, it's actually more of the grapefruit that comes in. It's probably just the kind of contrast of the flavours, but maybe your palate adjusts a little bit different than mine does. People can always pick up slightly different flavours in beer, but the main point about this beer is that it is pretty damn good. It's a really, really nice beer, and you know, I'd happily drink these. If it's readily available to me here in Lund, I would buy these. I'd probably buy at least one a week for enjoying on a weekend. Really beautiful beer. Bit of a beast, really, really nice, I have to admit. The sweetness, the malt sweetness in this one, and the aftertaste, it's actually very smooth. You do have a nice little bit of a hoppy lingering there, but it's not like overwhelmingly dry or anything. The mouthfeel and the aftertaste of this one is really quite nice and just quite subtle. All the flavours are sitting there, but it's not dry and it's not too sweet. It's just perfect. The nice bready character sitting there. You do have just a little bit of dryness from the earthiness at the back of the tongue and some of the floral character around the palate, but just on top of that you can get just a little bit of the kind of biscuity or almost cereally bread flavours in there. Really nicely done this, I have to admit. The flavours in this beer are beautiful, and you can see what they say. They like to brew in the American style, and it definitely fits in with that. It reminds me a little bit of some of the New Zealand beers as well, actually, that I had when I was down there. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this one's probably mid-bodied, maybe pushing full-bodied, I would say. Carbonation, I think, is pretty smooth in this one. It's quite soft. yeah, I would stick with that. Carbonation is quite soft. The mouth feels quite oily, but it really needs to be. And that's to bring out some of the more malty characteristics, and you always get that with Imperial red beer or Imperial beers as well. It's just to kind of bring out the more boozy aspects of the flavour, but there's a good bit of juicy fruit in there. I'm actually starting to pick up just a little bit of a red candied fruit there, but mainly it's the kind of citrusy and grapefruits that's coming out, but there's a good bit of a fruity character to this one, not too juicy, but quite a bit of that coming out, but there's a good sweet character from the malts, and there's a big bready presence there as well. You get a little bit of dryness in the middle of your palate, but you also get a bit of it around the front of the tongue and in the back corners too. So the beer does have a good bit of dry character, but it's not overwhelming. There's just a good balance between the bready flavours, a little bit of the caramel sweetness on top with the booziness, the earthy hop, and then the nice floral aromatic hop around this. So you've got a good balance between the malts and the hops in this beer. Beautiful, beautiful one actually. So I would not hesitate to buy this again. For somebody who really, really enjoys the Imperial red beers, I would, like myself, I would highly recommend this. Really beautiful, but the only downside to this beer at the moment is that it probably is only available very, very locally. So hopefully in the future we'll see these guys expanding a little bit, and if they can brew beers of this quality, I'm sure they're not going to have any problems. We've maybe got ourselves the new Untappd Gårdsbryggeri here, the Skåne equivalent of Untappd Gårds here. Very, very nice beers, I have to admit. So hopefully I can actually return to this brewery and review a few more of their beers. Based on this one, I'm sure their other beers will be pretty damn good as well. If this is the style they like to brew in, I would really like to try their other beers as well. But yeah, as I say, this beer, we'd really recommend it for people who like the Imperial red beers. Maybe similar to the sort of New Zealand styles of these beers that you get, or the American West Coast red beers. Really, really beautiful stuff. So a big thumbs up to Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. Hopefully I can review some more of your stuff. But yeah, as always with my reviews, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below if you do happen to have tried it. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, like I say. So do go and check out Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. Very, very new brewery, but I think you will see some really good things from them in the fairly near future. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you're enjoying this December series of Swedish beers that I'm doing for you. Until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and follow the social media things, but most importantly, go and check out Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri from Eslöv here in Skåne in Sweden. Slanja just now.